Germany. I chose her because she was a female and she taught herself to be educated. Germaine was a French female mathematician who contributed to the study of acoustics, elasticity, and the theory of numbers. And she made several important contributions to the investigation of Fermat's last theory. She was born on April 1st, 1776 in Paris, France. Her father was a silk merchant and later became a director of Bank of France. She was the second child of 3 daughters, and her family was wealthy middle class. When she was 13, her parents kept her isolated from outside because of the French Revolution by keeping her in the house, and she fought boredom by reading books from her father's library. One day she was reading a book about Archimedes, who was reading geometry as he was killed. This sparked her interest and she began her study of mathematics. Sophie began teaching herself using the books in her father's library. Her parents felt that her interest was inappropriate for a female because the common belief of the middle class in the 17th century was that it was not common for a female to study mathematics. She began studying at night to escape from her parents, but they went to such measures as taking away her clothes once she was in bed and depriving her of heat and light to make her stay in her bed at night instead of studying. Their efforts failed because she would wrap herself in clothes and use candles she had hidden in order to study at night. Finally, her parents realized Sophie's passion for mathematics and they let her learn. Sophie spent the years of studying differential calculus without the aid of a tutor. In 1794, when Sophie was 18, the École Polytechnique was founded in Paris. It was an academy founded to train mathematicians and scientists for the country. Women were not allowed to enroll in the academy, but Sophie was able to obtain the lecture notes for several of the courses and study from them. This gave her the opportunity to learn from many of the prominent mathematicians of the day. Sophie was particularly interested in the teachings of Lagrange. Under the pseudonym of M. Leblanc, Sophie submitted a paper on analysis to Lagrange at the end of them. He was impressed with the work and wanted to meet the student who had written it. Lagrange was amazed that the student was actually a female, but he recognized her ability and became her mentor. Up until this point, her gender and her social status had been a burden to her. It was socially acceptable for aristocratic women to be taught the sciences and mathematics so that they could talk about it casually with friends. Sophie was a middle-class woman, so this opportunity had passed her by. In 1804, Sophie began corresponding with the German mathematician Carl Friedrich Gauss. She was intrigued with his work in number theory and sent him some of the results of her work in number theory. 1808, German sent Gauss a letter describing some of her work in number theory. Sophie never heard from him about her last correspondence because he had stopped his work in number theory. About 12 years later, she wrote to the mathematician Legendre about what would be her most important work in number theory. Sophie Germain made a partial progress on a proof of Experiment's last theorem. For prime exponents less than 100, she showed there could be no solutions relative prime to the exponent. German's theorem said if x, y, and z are integers, and if x to the fifth power n plus y to the fifth power equals z to the fifth power, then either x, y, or z must be divisible by 5.